This morning, that morning, yesterday morning, it was a great topic. It could have went on for a long time too. So this is a good topic
Hmm.
right here. I am looking forward to it.
Yeah, we got them official documents. You already know that shit finna get crazy. Let's get it.
Uh, all right. So for those who don't know, man, The Blind Side was a movie in 2009. It was starring Sandra Bullock, and it was about a dude, a big, African American, adopted by a white family or allegedly adopted. So the story says they took him in, helped him with school, helped him with his football, his football programs, and he eventually made it to the NFL. Now it's coming out that he actually wasn't adopted and that they tricked him into signing over his rights to this family, and he ain't getting a cut of the movie. So I'm gonna get into this first audio. It's
Hold on,
just a
hold on.
general.
What you mean by he wasn't adopted by the family? You got to break it down to the people, man. What you mean by that?
All right, so before he linked up with them, he was in foster care. He was bouncing around, foster care before they took him in. And when he turned 18, they said, hey, we can't legally adopt you, but if you want to be a part of this family, you can sign this. So, and there was a family lawyer that was present there. At the time, he was pretty, well, the movie says he was illiterate. See, you don't even know what the fuck to believe in the movie no more. But,
Dog, this shit is crazy, bro. So you mean to tell me they just went and picked this kid up and just took him in?
hey, we're going to get into the content because the
Oh
work,
yeah, I
the
gotta hear
work
this. Let's
got the
get to.
whole shebang. The work got the background story, how they took all that. So I'm going to play this first audio. We could talk about it a little bit, then I'm getting to the second one.
A former football star, an Oscar winning movie, and millions of dollars. As the man whose story inspired the Blind Side movie is now accusing the wealthy white family who said they adopted him of not doing any such thing. We're talking Oher, who was taken in by the Tuohys after living in poverty and foster care. He played college ball at Ole Miss before spending 8 years in the NFL. It's an incredible life story, so incredible that it was turned into a best-selling book. That book became the foundation of the 2009 movie, The Blind Side, that earned Sandra Bullock an Academy Award, remember?
This team is your family, Michael. When you look at him, you think of me, how you have my back. Are you going to protect the family, Michael?
Yes, ma'am.
Bullock plays Leanne Toohey, who adopted Oher, or so he thought. But according to these new court documents out of Tennessee, Oher says that's a lie, that they tricked him into making the family his conservators instead, and that they made millions off his name from a movie that, you see the quote here, that would not have existed without him. Guad Venegas is joining us now. And Guad, this is a real shocker of a lawsuit, partly because of the time that has elapsed since Michael Oher was living with the Tuohys, was being taken in by the Tuohys, and now, right? He's basically saying he made nothing from the movie, from the book, et cetera, while the Tuohys raked it in. Help us understand the allegations and any response we're getting tonight from the Tuohys.
Hallie, there are a lot of questions as to why so much time went by before these legal documents were presented in court, right? So here's what we know. We know that back in 2004, when Oher was 18 years old and still living with the Tuohys, he says he was lied to, according to these legal documents, when they asked him to sign paperwork that he thought meant he was being adopted and becoming part of the family, but instead that paperwork put him in a conservatorship, and they became his conservators. Now, he says that they also made a deal for the film, the famous film that we all know, in which the family received $225,000 plus 2.5% of the proceeds. Now, that film also, the legal documents indicate, has made more than $300 million. Now, it also says that the conservatorship was going to end when he was 25, but the legal documents say that it was never terminated by the court. And ultimately, the Tuohys had control over his contracts and any legal documents that he was involved in. So there's a lot of questions, Hallie, as to how he's been under a conservatorship this entire time, right? Because he had a successful NFL career, but it's been indicated that it took him time to find out exactly what had happened and why he didn't receive any profits from this film. So there's a lot of questions that will be answered after this legal filing was put in court today. So this is the legal petition, but we still have to hear from the Tuohys. We have not heard a response from them. So in the coming weeks or months, we could see a legal filing coming from the family explaining from their point of view what happened.
What does Oher want the court to do now? Like, what is he seeking?
So first off, the legal petition indicates that he wants that conservatorship to end. Again, this would have started when he was 18. He is now 37. He's retired from a successful NFL career. So he wants that to end. And also he's asking that the family, the Tuohys, stop using his name and likeness, and also to pay him his fair share from the profits they could have made from using his name, Hallie.
Squad Venegas, thank you very much on this really incredible story. Appreciate it.
That shit sound crazy, right, y'all?
So hold on, bro. So he signed his rights over?
Yep.
This shit crazy
Basically,
as a
yeah.
motherfucker right here, bro.
This shit crazy.
So only now he
In
know
a
he missing his money.
conservatorship
So if
like
they never
Britney Spears, right? Like were they in control of all of his money and all of his shit?
Yeah,
In that
that's what it sound
conservatorship?
like. It
Yeah.
sound like that too.
But I'm like he didn't know. Like he really didn't know. He really wasn't sure.
Like only now
I
that
mean,
shit like it took this long.
That's Kobe, right? Yeah,
yeah,
that's
I
Kobe.
mean, like, you think they really lied to him and tell him some shit, or you think they told him and made it like, you know what I mean, like sugarcoated it type thing. You know what I
I
mean?
I think he got finessed. But I don't know. I don't know. It's a lot of content we still got to get into, including
But
the court documents.
as a kid, can you legally sign your rights over to
He was
somebody?
18
As a
at
He
the
was
kid,
time, bro.
18,
wait,
and
wait. So he got adopted at 18. What do you mean?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Explain that shit.
he couldn't.
Come on now.
That's why.
Because
That's why it
no, he
sounds
went in,
weird.
he went in with the family at 16, and 3 months after his 18th birthday, they presented him with paperwork saying, allegedly saying, "Hey, you know, this is we can't legally adopt you, but this is the documents that will make you part of the family." The key language they using is part of the family, right? Like to be a Tui, you know what I mean? But legally, they didn't adopt them and just ended up putting them in a conservatorship. So let's see what he's saying his own words on what they got wrong about him.
This is crazy,
Yeah,
yo.
bro. I've been reaching out to this brother. I've been trying to
He
get him
is a
on here. So I'm
super.
probably gonna have to I might probably have to reach out to Wack to see if he can get him on here. Cause I've been reaching out to him and he ain't looked at no messages yet. So he probably a super busy guy. So we can get back to it.
Super Bowl champion, a first-round NFL draft pick. Michael joins us here in studio. Mike, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, my
Really
pleasure.
Appreciate it. Yeah.
My pleasure. First, football question. You played under Hugh Freeze.
Yeah.
And now Hugh is back at the SEC. You played for him under Ole Miss, at Ole Miss. Now he's back at Auburn.
Yep.
Hugh has had some ups and downs in his career as well. But in this book, you talk about how much you appreciate him, that you're still friends to this day. So tell me about your relationship with Hugh and how you think he'll do at Auburn.
I think personally he'll do fantastic. We date all the way back to high school, and he was
That's
my high
right.
school football coach. And he was one of the first mentors I saw do it the right way, football-wise, off the field, fundamentals, technique. I learned from him that the coach is way more important than the player because a few weeks before the playoffs started, I don't think we would have won the Super Bowl
Really?
because for me, everybody locked in. You think guys like that are going to play forever. You know, when he talked to the team, I told him, man, I thought you was going to retire with me. So we couldn't believe it. I think
We could skip the sports questions. I'm gonna fast forward it to when he talking about the shit.
How long is the audio?
It's 14 minutes, but I think half of it is the sports questions, so I'm gonna skip to 7 minutes.
I want to show the young people and everyone behind me that, hey, you deserve some credit for your hard work. You can get it done. And that's really the goal.
So for those that don't know, you grew up in a really difficult situation. no one in your family had aspired to really have a career. Many didn't want a job. The people that you were around didn't have anything to do most days. Poverty, homelessness, the projects in Memphis. You were just surrounded by a culture of there's really nothing to life. There's no way out. But you somehow figured out that you needed to see something else. I think you described it as like standing in front of an ocean when you walk to the edge of the projects, that there was a whole something out there that you had no idea about. How'd you gain a perspective in a cycle that usually doesn't allow that?
I think I was blessed with being on the streets from the time I was 3 years old, in and out of foster care from 3 to 10, on the streets for a year.
You were blessed.
Yes, on the streets for a year after running away from foster home at 10 years old and being placed in a mental hospital and running away from there a few weeks later. And the state just gave up on me, gave back custody. And the struggles that I had early on, being in and out of homes, on the streets, I needed a routine. That's when I developed a routine, 11, 12 years old, going to school on my own in the 3rd grade. And from there on.
And your family, not to interject, but a lot of crack addiction amongst your family and your parents, you didn't know your dad.
That was the norm. That was the norm at the time. That's the way we grew up. But you grew up so fast, like I said, you understand what's right and what's wrong. So from that point on, when I started going to school on my own, I was going to do the right thing because I knew what the wrong thing was, and I didn't want to be that. And I saw what it did to my family, and I saw the situation that we was in. So, I was going to put it in my mind and imagine a future and go chase that. That was better than what I was around. So I think that was the most important thing, was having those struggles early on and being so tired as an 11-year-old kid and forcing myself to, just go to school every day and just be away from that environment and picture myself somewhere else. So I think routine, discipline, and being consistent is the key to everything. Without a routine, man, everyone I know who doesn't have a routine, their life's in shambles. So that's everything to me. I think the struggles, it blessed me and it helped me get off the streets a lot earlier than some others would.
Michael Oher joins us in studio. He had such an interesting observation here in the book, and that was that you can read in people's eyes, especially young people that have been through foster care, what internally they're thinking or their reaction to you. And you said you developed that when you were young because you read body language because it means survival when you're young and on the street.
For sure.
How'd that happen?
Well, it's just that, knowing body language, knowing that you're on couch to couch and someone else, when you're in that situation, the next person can't feed themselves. So some extra mouth can't be around, can't stay too long. So, the first couple of days, it's just like when you see somebody, your new friend, you're happy to see him. Hey, what's going on, man? Blah, blah, blah. And then after a day or so, it becomes, hey, what's up? So that's my curious time to go because I've worn out my welcome. So I know body language. I try to continue to be positive. Whenever I see you, I try to be the same personality-wise, same energy. And it gets, mentally, I wouldn't wish it on anybody because you continue, you have to be at war. You have to be on cue at all times because you don't know, when someone's going to tell you your time's up.
You talk about food insecurity in this book as well, not knowing if you're going to open up the fridge and anything's going to be in there. How devastating is that to young people that deal with this because they can't afford to go out and buy their own food? And you talk about, you walk through grocery stores and convenience stores and wondered, is today the day I starve or is today the day I steal food?
No, I was never going to starve. I was always too competitive. I'm going in the store. I'm going to get what I need. I'm getting out of there. So that's not going to happen. Trust me on that one. But it leads to bigger things as you grow older. Those are just petty crimes. Me stealing as a kid surviving and putting food in the refrigerator. That's just something I had to do. But what it leads to poor academics in the classroom, behavior problems, and then a few years later, those crimes become armed robberies, and a lot more dangerous crimes. So, that's what hunger does. It's a bigger problem than just trying to survive as a kid.
What food does a 10-year-old
Damn. So he sounds like such a he kind of sounds like he got his head on his shoulder, right? So it's like, how could they trick such a guy who knows what he wants for himself? You know what I mean? But hey, click that link up top. Click the link up top and open it in your Safari. All right. Can y'all hear me? I want to make sure y'all can hear me
Yeah, I
before
hear
I
you,
Yeah, I
start
bro.
can
reading.
hear
I
you.
hear you, bro.
All right, bet. I'm about to start reading. So it says, comes now Michael Jerome Orr, personally by and through the assigned counsel, and petitions the probate court for an order for a final accounting in the above referenced cause, to close the conservatorship for an order requiring the co-conservators Sean Toohey and Lee Ann Toohey to show cause for failure to meet their required duties to provide regular accountings, or to act in the best interest of their ward, Michael J. Orr, and for applicable damages and other relief in support thereof, petitioner or states onto this court. We're going to get into the introduction and factual background. Michael Orr, now 37, grew up in Memphis, Shelby County, Tennessee, in the Hurt Village housing projects north of St. Jude Research Hospital. Michael was one of 12 children born to his mother, Denise Orr. On April 14th, 1996, when Michael was not quite 11 years old, his custody was awarded to the Tennessee Department of Human Services, in whose legal care and control he would remain until becoming an adult. As a ward of the foster care system, DHS did little to help Michael. The representatives of DHS tasked with caring for Michael ultimately lost track of him in a broken social system, leaving Michael to live on the streets, taking care of himself as best as he could. Michael was a smart kid, but his formal education was spotty to non existent. He attended 11 schools in 9 years, repeating first and second grade. In the late summer of 2002, a kind man named Tony Henderson, the father of a friend of Michael's, witnessing Michael's uh, witnessing firsthand Michael's focus and drive to pursue a better life, took it upon himself to find a school that would agree to provide Michael with a decent education. Mr. Henderson introduced Michael to the principal, who recognized Michael's potential in their first meeting, along with other administrators at the school, who agreed to provide him with life-changing opportunity of an education at their school. Briarcrest agreed to admit Michael as a student, and upon receiving satisfactory grades, allowed him to participate in their sports programs. So it seems like he started playing sports in the summer of 2002. In September 2003, Michael's junior year, Michael began playing sports at Briarcrest. From the beginning, he excelled. He made first string for the Tennessee All-State game in both football and basketball, and was selected to play in the Army All-American Bowl. It was clear that Michael had the size, speed, physical ability, and mental acuity to be a star in college and afterwards. Football scholarship offers poured in from the powerhouse football universities from across the nation. Michael was on his own at Briarcrest and nearly penniless. It took over an hour riding buses and walking to get from Hurt Village to Briarcrest. During his 10th and 11th years at Briarcrest, and in parentheses, they got the dates as September 2002 until June 2004. Michael often stayed at the home of the grandfather of his friend, Quintero Franklin, and he had other benefactors as well. He often stayed overnight at the homes of his classmates, whose parents saw Michael as simply intelligent, polite young man who needed the basic support that no person, agency, or other social systems had been able to provide Michael for most of his childhood. During the summer after his junior year at Briarcrest, Michael also occasionally stayed with Sean and Lee Ann Toohey, where other parents of Michael's classmates saw Michael as simply as a nice kid in need. Conservators Sean Tui and Leanne Tui saw something else, a gullible young man whose athletic talent could be exploited for their own benefit. The Tuohys, who took no legal action in juvenile court to assume legal custody of Michael, a ward of the state, began inviting him to their large, beautiful home more and more often during that summer. Miss Tui began taking Michael on shopping trips and buying him clothes. In July of 2004, after Michael became an adult but still enrolled as a student at Briarcrest and just before his senior year, the Tuohys invited Michael to come and live with them. At no time prior to this invitation during Michael's minority did the Tuohys take any legal action to assume custody of Michael from DHS through appropriate channels, nor did they seek to become Michael's guardian while he was a minor. Despite this inaction, the Tuohys did tell Michael they loved him and they intended to legally adopt him. Michael believed them, was delighted to be a part of a real and stable family, and trusted the Tuohys completely. The Tuohys encouraged Michael to refer to them as mom and dad, and Michael happily complied. Almost immediately after Michael moved in, the Tuohys presented him with what he understood to be legal papers that were a necessary step in the adoption process. Michael trusted the Tuohys and signed where they told him to sign. What he signed, however, and unknown to Michael until after February of 2023, were not adoption papers or the equivalent of adoption papers. Instead, it was the petition for appointment of conservators, which was filed in this cause on August 9th, 2004 by Deborah Brannon, attorney of record in this matter. Ms. Brannon was so close to the Tui family that Michael was encouraged to refer to her as Aunt Debbie. This petition filed on behalf of the Tuis, Michael and his mother, Denise Orr, by Ms. Brennan as the attorney of record for all four petitioners, included a request that the conservators have total control over Michael Orr's ability to negotiate for enter any contract, despite the fact he was over 18 years of age and had no diagnosed physical or psychological disabilities. The August 9, 2004 petition states, in part, that the best interest of the said Michael Jerome Williams Jr. will be served by this court granting onto the said Sean A. Tui and wife Lee Ann Tui the full co-legal custody, guardianship, and conservatorship of the said Michael Jerome Williams Jr., that they shall have all powers of attorney to act on his behalf, and that the said Michael Jerome Williams Jr. shall not be allowed to enter into any contracts or bind himself without the direct approval of his guardian slash co-conservators. It doesn't say co-conservators, it just say conservators. That the said Michael Jerome Williams Jr. will further not be allowed to make medical decisions for himself, and that the said guardians shall have full and complete authority to make medical and educational decisions on his behalf, and have full and complete access to all his medical and school records in the same vein as had they been his natural parents and guardians. At no point did the Tuohys inform Michael that they would ultimately control all of his contracts, and as a result, Michael did not understand that the conservatorship was granted. He was signing away his right to contract for himself. Michael was falsely advised by the Tuohys that because he was over the age of 18, that the legal action to adopt Michael would have to be called a conservatorship, but it was for all intents and purposes adoption. I'm slowing down there. So, what do y'all think of what I just read so far?
So they
What
finessed him on
you
the
talking
contract.
about, boy?
That's some fuck shit.
Hey, Todd, remember that movie, The Blind Side?
What it was about?
The dude from The Blind Side. So, the movie was about him being adopted and the family, taking him in and taking care of him and shit like that. And he signed papers when he was 18, giving them a conservatorship. And we just going through the court documents, man, breaking it down type shit. So the link's
It,
up top if you want to check them out.
it sounded like everybody knew he was like he was intelligent enough. There's they're saying their friends are saying that. I'm sure he could figure it out. I'm sure he knew what he was doing. It sounded like a record deal, like with Meg the Stallion. they gave him an advance. They brought him into his house, fed him, kept him shelter and all that. In turn, hey, you finna go play this football and bring back that revenue. You know what I'm saying? And then, as soon as niggas realize they don't got the good end of the stick, they be trying to, out or expose, anything in that nature.
Hold on. I got a question in the chat, right? So if you look at the paperwork where it says Michael Jerome Williams, because y'all saying it's not his real name, it's like a one, like a little small one next to that junior. And you can see like a little definition at the bottom. It says Michael Jerome Williams Jr. is Michael Orr's birth name, which was legally changed to Michael Jerome Orr on December 7th, 2004. So I hope that answered your question. Learn
Y'all
something new
don't
every
think he
day.
y'all don't think he knew about it? You don't think he tried to take advantage of going and living in their big ass house with them and playing
I don't.
football and going to college? And he
I
thought he
don't.
was just going, what I mean, it's just gonna be up.
I don't think so. I think that when someone takes it, they saw that that boy had talent and potential. You see, they waited until they saw that he was somebody special. And sometimes I think with young people or a child or a person, for that matter, that comes from the struggle, when you see somebody reaching a hand out trying to help you, I think you kind of just get that feeling of, wow, okay, somebody cares, somebody loves me, whatever. Now, if they told the boy that it was that was the only way that he could be officially part of that family, I wholeheartedly believe that that's what he thought he was signing. Maybe he didn't read it. He had a family attorney that was his supposed aunt telling him this is what you need to do. And unfortunately, he didn't have his own counsel to help him. I don't think he felt like he needed it. I believe he felt safe. He felt like he was loved. And people that loved me and took me in and been my family for all these years, why would they do anything to hurt me? It's really fucked up that they waited until they saw that boy had potential and did that to him. I hope that he gets exactly what is coming to him. That was his hard work. That was his story, and he deserves to have control over his life and his money. I think that's just a fucked up scenario.
But legally, can they do that?
I think they can. He signed it. You
He
know what I
signed
mean?
the
But
paperwork, but he can't petition that paperwork and get that shit reversed.
That's a big fact, bro.
But
That's
That's
what's up top.
it's gonna take some legal know how though, man.
Yeah.
And that paperwork get tricky with that one, and it's not like the white folks shit, black folks or whoever the fuck they did that. They was on their shit, and that's what's fucked up. That
So,
paperwork.
Well,
so did
isn't
they get
entering
money? Oh, did they get money from his football contracts all this time?
that's what I
It
was
sound like
saying.
it sound
That's
like
I'm
whatever
trying to figure
contract
that
they
out.
had was in perpetuity, which means forever.
From
Because
what I
usually
from
like
what I'm
that
seeing,
time
is they
out when
just got just a piece of the
in
movie. They didn't
21,
get none of his
25.
NFL money.
You said what?
No, they're in charge of his money in total and medical decisions for himself.
Yeah, in
That means all
perpetuity.
everything he got from the NFL, they knew about it. He knew they had control of it.
Yeah, he
So
can't negotiate
how
his own
Hey
so how
Eric,
so
how
contract.
so
much?
So
Hey
how
Eric, how much was the percentage that the people was getting?
2.5%
10%?
off the movie. We don't know about anything else yet. Unless
So it
I'm
was
not
so that
privy
was
to
just for the
anything.
movie. So we can't
Yeah.
really speak on the NFL, y'all. We
it
don't
sounds
know.
like that he got went to them first, and then they divvied the funds from that paperwork they wrote out. Like they became like his executive of everything.
Right.
See,
But the
that's what I'm
suit but
saying.
the
He
suit
knew
that
he
he's
did.
filing has nothing to do with the NFL money though. He's only asking for the movie money. So I would assume that they only had access to the movie money.
I agree with that.
I don't know. We'll find out. Let's keep reading. Did
Hey,
Tuli
so
tell?
Eric,
Oh,
hold
go
on.
ahead.
Now, when you said 2%, right?
Hmm.
So is that 2% of his name?
No, 2.5% off the movie. So their
Okay, I
name.
understand that. It's 2%, 2.5% off the movie, right? So how
That's
much
their movie
percentage?
deal, though.
How much percentage was it that they were getting off of his name, just his name
Shit, if
alone?
they ain't charge all his contracts, all of it, if they want it, but we don't know if they was dishing it back to him or you know what I mean.
Yeah, he must
Cause,
have
cause
had
I
been.
read the shit and it said they got rights to all his contracts. They like the shit is crazy.
They must have been like real tricky with it because that's very tedious. Every check they must
Yeah,
have been
bro.
like sending it through and making sure and telling them, and or either that or he must have been under like mind control, like, hey, are really trusting them. Hey, I believe they have the best interest at heart. They're running my money, so I'm not really worried about it. You know what I mean? Until probably he probably tried to buy something himself, and they're like, hey, you got to go ask them if that's cool. And he
I'm
probably
trying to
felt
see how did they legally send him to school and all that old shit. How did they legally do that if they wasn't really his foster parents? They got to have some type of paperwork to do that, right?
I think you can
Yeah,
be
Well,
that
a
was
legal
the
remember,
Somebody
guardian
got
remember
well,
now.
they
he
are legal
yeah.
he was
guardian.
already in school.
Man, let me hear it from a woman, man. I keep hearing too many niggas talking.
Yeah, so the the paperwork that they filled out is kind of like they adopted him, but not adopted him. It's like it's conservatorship. So I have conservatorship over my oldest son, and he's 27. And I make every decision for him. And whatever income he would ever get in life, it will come to me first, and I would give it to him. But that's because he can't make the decisions on his own. The guy we talking about, can make decisions on his own. So that's why I don't understand
Are
why
we
he
sure
would.
though? Are we sure about that? I mean, he could have had some type of disability that we didn't know about.
Hey, you heard him talk. He
Yeah,
sounds stable minded. He sounds
Yeah,
yeah.
like
you
that
can
guy.
be stable
He,
minded and still have a disability though,
but
bro.
he been playing
No, they
football
said he
for
was
a
very
lot of
intelligent.
I
years.
said, but like they read
Yeah,
in the
And to get
document.
conservatorship, you actually have to prove that they are completely, like, it's actually very difficult. It's a very
right.
hard
It's
process to
very
go through.
hard.
And even parents that are trying to protect their children, like, have a difficult road to even proving that. So for them to have conservatorship, that means that most likely his IQ is below 70,
Right.
meaning that he's intellectually disabled.
So who do they take that paper to show them this kid signed
The
his
Social
sign?
Security office, usually, to get
Yeah,
Social
you
Security
have to
Get
go
the
benefits.
to the
new
court too,
conservatorship.
though.
Because even if they got problems, like even my mother, I'm over her, she can assign somebody else. Can't he complain to get like a representative when he don't feel safe anymore? You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, he could have, but he's 30 now. Like, why
Yeah,
would you
so
wait
adult
until
protective
you,
services would have to be called.
yeah, till
Hmm.
you 30 to complain about them taking your money, and they've been doing it all these years.
Rosetta, I'm kind of lost because it's like, how could you two white motherfuckers, not being disrespectful to nobody on the stage, but these two white motherfuckers take a black kid and register him in school and all this other shit?
Because they had, it's basically legal guardianship. The conservatorship is legally, you like legally own, not own, but
Yeah, I mean,
like a
that's
word,
pretty
you
much
own
it.
Said
that
you can
So
call
person.
you
adult protective services, so that's what he need to do. Somebody who concerned like they do with child, they can
hold on,
report
one
that.
justice. So y'all telling me my daughter and my son can leave out my house right now and they can go to the neighbors and the neighbors can get paid off of them
If
and they
you
can
guys
send
are,
them
Yeah, if
to
they could prove
school and
it.
all
yeah,
this shit.
No,
if you're not a part of their life no more, it seemed like
It's
he
a
failed through the.
kid though.
It
you have
doesn't
to sign off
matter.
your rights. You have to
It
sign off your rights
and
as a
that's
Well,
parent.
remember he
you're
was
right. But
18 when
his
he signed the
parents, he
paperwork.
was taken away from his parents, so he was
Right. So he
in
was in foster care. So they
Wait a
decided
already
to
minute, wait a
get
minute.
right.
adoption,
Wait a minute.
conservatorship.
Hold
And
on, let
he
that
and then
woman
he
talk. It was somebody
fell
else trying to
through.
say something like she know what's going on. Who was that said that?
I'm just saying.
That was a
T.
half pint.
I'm gonna say
Go
based.
ahead.
I'm gonna say based off that movie. If you want to base off that movie, he was never in foster care. His mom was just on drugs and half the time wasn't at home. He
You in the Matrix, half pint.
They sign over their
But she
parental
had to
rights. Is
sign
that
up.
what y'all
Yeah.
Hold
saying?
on, Justice. Hold
Yeah.
on.
They had
Hold
to
on.
sign over their parental rights for them
Half
to get
pint. Be quiet.
conservatorship.
If
can
you
y'all
guys
hear
are
me now?
going, if you're
So
going
you
based off the movie, they didn't show him as a young child. He was like in the movie, he was already in high school or whatever. So what he just said is that he ran away from foster care
Right.
until he was 10 and the state
Right.
gave up on him. So they
Right.
didn't show
From
any of
what I
that in the movie.
heard him read, it sounded like he signed that paperwork as he was an adult. He was just still in high school, but he was an adult when he signed that paperwork. think that's what I heard
And
him
it
read.
showed him going to tutoring in the movie, so I don't know if he had, disabilities. Like he probably couldn't read all that paperwork,
Well, they
honestly.
said when he just said
So
when he was just talking, he said he repeated the first and second grade.
you're
Yeah,
So
it
right.
did.
yeah, he
So
was
he had some type of
yeah.
disability. Yeah,
They
that's what I was
definitely
No,
took
saying.
they
Yeah.
said
advantage of
that
the
because he
situation.
wasn't going to school. He said he wasn't
That's
going to
why
school.
they
That's
He's
why he
under
scooped
couldn't
him
read.
up.
duress, can't he?
They scooped him
Under
up
arrest
because
from
they saw
outside.
potential, and that's the bottom line.
But he was
Yeah.
still, that explains why he was still 18 in high school, because he was
Mm-hmm.
held back twice.
Right.
And you
So
know what?
even though he was an
Sadly,
adult, he was still
And that's
considered
why
a
he was
child
so
because he was in
big.
high school.
Bro,
And people
hey
don't
y'all,
realize
that's
that.
some bullshit, bro. Cause kids don't usually miss first and second. Like they don't get flunked first and second grade now. Come on,
Oh, they
y'all.
gotta be
I've
reading
seen
like
kids flunk
so much by
kindergarten.
Man, I don't
they
kindergarten.
care
do
if
if
them
you
Yeah,
don't.
they
motherfuckers
hold
don't
them back in
go.
kindergarten.
No,
What are
Yeah,
you
no,
talking about? If
no.
you're
No, they
I've
will.
Rob,
fucking
Rob, I
nah,
remember a
They
couple
will
of them
hold children back.
they had
I
repeated the first grade.
I
My
remember brother
Almost
seeing
because
daughter
they couldn't read.
damn,
I
that's
don't think it's
crazy.
because he flunked.
Yeah.
no,
I don't think
there
it's
was a
because he.
kid there was a kid in my daughter's first grade class that had flunked kindergarten twice.
Damn.
Twice. How do you flunk kindergarten
Hey, I
twice?
got held back from preschool because I was always fighting. They made me do that shit twice.
What was you gonna say, Keela?
No, I was saying I remember seeing an interview with him not too long ago, and he said that that movie was not a true reflection of his story, like what actually happened in his life. In that movie, I think they kind of jazzed it up to make it seem like those people really cared about him and adopted him and this and that. But he said that that movie was not a true reflection of his life.
That
They
that
do
proof he
that
was
all the
kidnapped then.
time.
I know,
what?
just as he didn't say they kidnapped.
So it sounds like they really just
That's
BJ put in the
exploited
criminal
him.
charges,
They
more criminal
exploited
charges.
him
No,
for the
BJ
media.
said it in the chat. He said they kidnapped him. How?
They
Oh,
exploited
Nah,
okay.
him.
nah. I said they kidnapped that black boy, made him go to Mississippi, and made millions off his story. It's a damn shame.
Well, I agree with two of those statements. I
That's
don't know about the kidnap
exploitation, not
part, but
kidnapping.
yeah, but they definitely
Damn,
exploited him.
crazy.
Yeah.
They
All right, y'all.
saw a
Hey, that
big
sound
black
like
dude.
ransom in a whole different way.
Yeah.
Look, they saw a big black dude. It was either he was gonna play basketball or he was gonna play
They knew he was
football.
gonna be
They just
something.
wanted in on it.
Yeah, that's what it sounded like. But it do sound like they kidnapped him. I'm sorry, because
Who attorney
they say
then?
they not really his foster parents. Like, come on now. How you just take somebody in your house and let them live with you till you get older, and then you take all that money when they do become